Okay, good morning, my friends. I'm going to do a part two to the video I did this morning. Now, don't get me wrong. This is really not about anything we talk about. It's just more about me. So I talked about this on the Dreaded FB, but most of my friends there don't believe it anyway. But in 2020, it might have been 2019. It might have been right before 2020. And the Dreaded Achoo came out and all that. Well, I caught it first what I thought was a flu. And I was at work and I was working and all of a sudden I was frozen, boy. I could not move. So I went home. I think it was a Wednesday or a Thursday. It might have been a Wednesday. So I was able to count that into Thursday, Friday. And then I called in again on Monday, Tuesday because I was able to because the way the days worked. But it turned out I didn't have the actual regular achoo flu. I had something else. Now, a lot of people think that that's totally fake, that the GOVT made it up, and it's not real or any of that. Well, all I know is I've got friends that are still suffering from that. So I've got one of my friends' wives still not over it. Me, 5 years later, I have so many complications, it's not crazy. The blood clot I got in my leg was not from my mother had them. It's hereditary. And she had not had a vaccine. She just had them. So you can't blame everything on, they're doing this and they're doing that. Not everything. So anyway, here I am 5 years later, and I'm just barely kind of back. And I contracted COPD, which I think, I think I got from it. Okay. I think I contracted COPD from that. COPD is a lung disease. And I was doing fairly well until I got sick 2 weeks ago. It went away and I thought it was gone, but it's back. Well, I'm getting over the sick. It's been 2 weeks. So now we're going to get into the rest of this. So what I've been trying to do over time is get back into actually working out. Now, I know that I'm never going to be the guy I was when I was even 50. When I was 50, I was still in pretty decent shape for 50, okay? But I got debilitated to where I can't even lift barely 10 pounds anymore. Because I wanted to respond to a video that I saw on a reel, okay? And I know a little bit more about the bodybuilding game than the average person. I can always spot a person that's on something. PEDs, no matter what it could be. Creatine is really a PED. I mean, it isn't because you could eat the food, but if you want to get as much as you could take in a drink, it's going to be like 4 bowls of green beans. How are you going to pull all that down? You know what I mean? But I can always spot a PED person against somebody else who's naturally training. So I wanted to put a defense in here for this younger guy that's on here that's been showing videos of himself. To him, he's doing really good. And I think so too. To others, because the guy isn't lean and ripped like that one kid that just won the Arnold, they think that he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, the kid may never want to be ripped. He may just want to be strong. So he's lifting. You know what I mean? He has good muscle size. He's just not cut. Well, that's what he wants to do. And these guys are coming in there and they're criticizing him and, look at you, you're a doughboy. Somebody called me a soy boy, and I'm almost 70 years old. And any kind of muscle at my age would be a good deal. This guy was talking to me like he thought I was 30. And I'm like, brother, I'm 70 years old. What are you talking about? If I have anything at all, that's a big deal. So what I wanted to say was this. This is where we're going. The kid is doing what he wants to do. He's where he wants to be. He looks pretty good for a person that maybe is not ripped. But for me, I've realized that I've gotten so far out of shape, and I've lost 5 pounds, which is not much. But because 175 is my real weight. And after I retired, I was already 185, 10 pounds over anyway. And I realized that at 215, I was pushing my life envelope. And if I want another 15 years, if that's all it is, then I want them. I don't want 2 weeks, a month. But unfortunately, I cannot jump right back into any of this right away. It's going to take a long, long time. So the treadmill wasn't working for me because there's levels. Okay. And believe it or not, an exercise bike is actually a lower level than a treadmill. Now, when you get up to the higher advanced classes, like on a Peloton, well, know that it is a little bit more intense. So I ended up getting myself a bike that I got to put together today, and I'm going to start to try to use it every single day. Because the treadmill's not working. Okay. I'm stuck at home. I don't have anything to do, and I put on too much weight. So we're going to start out with the bike. Once I can get to a point with it, maybe I'll advance back to the treadmill. It's going to take me a while to really get back to me. Let me give you an example. Whether this guy was a good person, bad person, switched over to be a good person, it doesn't matter what your thoughts of this person are. It just shows you that eventually, if you don't get your act together, you're not going to. And I'm going to tell you that what happened like that with my mother is what cost her her life, her extra years she could have had. And I don't want it to be me. Yes, my mom was 80 years old. But she could have lived as long as her mother, which was 99. She could have made it. But unfortunately, Mom gave up, and it's what it is. So Lex Luger, the guy I'm talking about, kind of ended up like my mom. But she wasn't paralyzed, but but she was a similar way. Her balance was gone because she had had a brain tumor that they took out and made her balance and thought process different. And when she was younger, because she was 40, she could compensate for it and still walk because she was younger. But as she got older, she couldn't keep her balance. Then what happened was, being sedentary and not moving around, she lost her way to walk. Then she gained weight because she couldn't move. Then she contracted all this stuff like I have because she couldn't move. She started to get Alzheimer's. Now we all get a little bit of that as we get older. We all tend to get brain whoops and forget things. That happens. But I was oblivious to some of that, so I just wasn't paying attention. Well, by the time we realized what was really wrong with my mother, it was all too late, and there was no rehabbing that was ever going to change it. Her mind was already to a point, I can't do it. I can't force myself. I can't do it. And so she ended up, like him, unable to walk. Now, he has decided to change his mind. DDP is actually trying to help him. He can stand up now. And what he needs to do is, once he can really get up and move, needs to always have a walker, something to be available in case you lose your balance. You've got it and it's there. He made the choice and is starting to be able to move again. Don't let that be your choice where, screw this, I can't do it, I'm not going to do it, I just can't. And as I watch myself fall into the things that my mother had happen to her, I realized that if I just keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be there. And I don't want to be there. I don't want to die younger. We all die, but I want to make sure I live a little bit longer than I should. The only way to do that, to watch what you eat, stay active, and do what you can. And who knows, maybe this bike will advance me to the treadmill. I don't like to walk where we live because there's too much traffic. Maybe after the treadmill, because I did join a gym, but I've always had this deal where I don't want to be a gym member, walk in, and I know I'm old, but I don't want to go in there and be that guy like in the old Pumping Iron movie with the little 2-pound weights. I want to be able to go in there and at least live moderate weight, because my ego doesn't want me to go in there and be wimpy. You know what I mean? When in reality, I should just be caring about my health. I see some guys on here in the weights they lift. And when I was a younger guy, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I was a fairly strong person. Now, my benches really lacked, okay? That was my weaker point. 315 is the most I've ever retained. And 225 for reps is probably really me. That's never been my strong point. Back, triceps, legs have always been my strong point. My cousin and I used to go to the gym and we'd work out, and people would be amazed the amount of weight we could put on the leg press, not squatting. Squatting's bad for your knees. You shouldn't really do it. It's bad for your knees on the press. Now here I am, almost 70, and my knees are fairly shot. They're fairly shot. So I got to get back to something. Maybe this bike, maybe all this other stuff can get me back to a point where I can actually get into the gym again and really work out. And I know a lot of people are going to, oh, look at that old guy. He thinks he can still do it, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? In here, I'm still 40, even 30. You know what I mean? So I know that I can do it. It's the doing it. So I hate when people come on here and they demean people. Oh, you're a dough boy. Oh, you're a soy boy. Oh, you're this. Yeah, my friend. And how much roids do you take to make yourself look that good to put this kid down, who's probably natural? Have I ever trained natural when I was younger? No. Never used anything like this. Never. All pills, supplements, certain things, but everything I took was a PED. Okay? Back in the old days when Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa were hitting their homers, androstenedione was a derivative of steroids. I've used it. And I was fairly strong for a guy my size, of average whatever. I never had the cut, but I was strong enough. Believe it or not, at one time, and I measured it, my arm was an 18-inch arm. Today it's probably 12. But I hate when people come on these social platforms and put people down for things, and it's only because they're behind a keyboard, and that's why they do it. You know what I mean? And there's no, yeah, man, keep on getting there. When you get to a certain point, maybe you can cut weight and be back to this. They don't do that. It's just all cuts. Now, have I ever done that myself? Not on workout things. On other things, when I know that someone's very mid, but they're trying to do, it's whatever it is. And now, speaking of that, there's a lot of people out here that have the OF channel. Those people are so mid, it isn't even funny. I've never gone to it, and I never will. But they do stuff on the Dreaded FB to promote their OF channel, and these people are the most mid you've ever seen. Like if you were out there on the scene, you might pass them up for somebody else. Oh, I'm going to put myself on the internet. So, I wanted to put this little video out there about getting in shape, trying to be there, trying to be the best you can be. I got a long ways to go, my friends. I have probably 40 pounds to lose. People look at me and go, oh, it's all my stomach. But I got 40 pounds, friends. I used to weigh 175. When I was at my biggest ever body size, I only weighed 195. People thought I weighed more because I was bigger. But I only weighed like 195 at my most. I made 205 because I ate a lot and then I dropped it back, but 205 is my highest weight, but my maintained weight was 195. So I know a lot about the game itself, okay? And everybody likes to impress everybody and this or that or whatever. Now, my cousin and I were kind of like Ronnie Coleman. We could go into a gym. We could be in there for 45 minutes at the most. And within 3-4 weeks, we're showing plus gains. We had a guy come in there that would do the T-bar row and use his whole body. We called him the hernia man. And sure enough, he was gone for like 3 weeks. He probably hurt himself. Came back in and started doing hernia man again. What brought me into this video was a guy who lives where we do. He's a real short guy. We call it this. He walked down the street with his dog, and we call it fake lat syndrome, meaning you walk like this, like that guy in the video that bumps the guys and all that. Well, that's who he reminds me of. The guy's got no freaking muscle at all. He's just little, but he walks, and his gait is kind of like he's bad. That's right, I'm bad. I look at the guy, and I just laugh. It's like, dude, you got no muscle. You walk like your back is huge, but it ain't. You're not Ronnie Coleman. You're not Arnold. You're not Dave Draper. You're none of those guys. But you walk down the street like you think you're this big guy, and you're not. People don't go look at you and go, oh, wow, that guy's bad. I better watch out. And they laugh at you. I'll tell you this. When I used to, now I want to give you a little story about a feat of strength that I watched. And I was probably 30, something like that. So if anybody knows who Dave Draper is, he was a pretty well-known bodybuilder in his time. Things happened to him that I'll leave out. And so he was out of the scene for quite a while, but came back into it. He had some wrong with his heart. So they had a main weight training floor, and then up on top was all like leg weights and lat machines and all this and everything else. And the bottom was all basically free weights and, barbells, dumbbells, and, fixed curl bars. So Dave comes in, puts 315 on the bar, flat on the ground, inches his neck underneath it to where he can get his hands on it, and begins to press it off the floor. Then did 2 French presses. Then he dropped it behind his neck because he didn't want to push it back. 315 from the floor, and then as a little show off, 2 French presses, and then he let it go. How many of us can do all that? That's strength. And Dave was 40 when he did it. But anyway, all the guys out here that I've ever met that have been deep into bodybuilding, now we get you this one. I really wasn't going to make this a half an hour, but I will. And if I get no views, it's okay. I've met a lot of these guys. I went to an expo about 3 years ago here. I met C.T. Fletcher. He's a big guy he's as old as I am, and he's a big dude. But all the other guys like Levrone and Sean Ray and all of them, they're short. Those guys are like shorter than me. But on stage, they look huge because they're shorter. Now, the other thing is, I was kind of following Lee Priest on Instagram, but see, it's an algorithm. because I don't go look for him all the time. I don't see him. So now I have to make sure to go check for him because he isn't there. Now, the deal is, he does answer almost all of us. But to look like those guys in the magazine, you got to do what those guys in the magazine do. And if you're not willing to a little bit, it ain't going to happen. There's some people that are naturally disposed to be muscular, but to be that muscular, you got to take stuff. There's no way around it. You're not going to see some 5'9", 300-pound dude naturally that huge. I've stood next to them, but they're not natural. None of them are. There are ways to get away and around the tests, but when we go to these shows, how many of those guys are in the bathroom peeing? They're taking massive diuretics to get this shit out of their system. That's not healthy. None of it is. So I just got kind of mad that they were pushing their hate towards this kid when, yeah, he might be doing 20-pound lat raises, but how many times is he doing them? And does he have muscle size? Well, he does. It may not be cut, but he's got size. See what I mean? So, maybe this can be a stepping stone, and before the end of the year, I can be back in the gym. I say a lot of things I don't do. Maybe this will happen. Anyway, I wanted to cut this video because it's already noon and I got things to go do. And then maybe put this bike together when it shows up. And we'll see where I can end up from there. But moral of my story is, don't put other people down for things you don't do or don't know much about. Okay? I just saw a little news blurb come across my screen. It said that ICE is arresting people with green cards. With green cards. Boy, if I could come out here and tell you everything I want to say, I'd be banned forever. Don't worry, though. It's going to happen soon. Sooner than later. One of the things, I'm going to end this video with, I do disagree with other people who say it won't happen. Iran is going to be involved in the war of Armageddon. They are going to be. It's going to be Iran, China, and Russia coming up against Syria, trying to take all that land back. And all those people that are saying, free this, will finally get their way when the two-state solution finally happens. Looking good on the surface is not what it all means. So anyway, that's not, in my mind, what's going to happen. Okay? I predicted the number 42 for the stock market. I basically said that 41 would come today. It might have gone back up because I haven't looked. But I said it would, and it did. When it gets to 40 or 39, you better frickin' panic. Because by then, and if you've got stock, you better get rid of it. Or you're going to lose what you got. And it's going to be another 1929 all over again. So, my friends, I guess I'm going to end this video. Until then, peace. I'll be seeing you. Do your own thing. Don't worry about others. Peace.